The stars had always been a mystery to humanity. For centuries, humans looked up at the night sky and wondered if there was anyone else out there. Now, in the year 2457, that question was finally answered. Human explorers had reached a distant solar system far from Earth. They discovered a planet they named Viridian. It was a beautiful world with vast oceans and tall green forests. But the most important thing was that it was inhabited. There were creatures living there, intelligent beings who called themselves the Zorath. The first contact between humans and Zorath was peaceful. The two species observed each other from a distance. Humans sent messages, and the Zorath replied. It seemed like a chance for friendship and cooperation. But humans had been through many wars before. They had built powerful weapons and strong armies. They believed that if things ever went wrong, they could fight and win. The human leaders thought they understood combat better than anyone else. They trusted their technology and tactics. The Zorath, on the other hand, were different. Their technology was strange and unfamiliar to humans. Their bodies were strong and fast. They fought in ways humans had never seen. Still, humans were confident. They thought the Zorath could not be a real threat. One day, a small human scouting ship was attacked near Viridian's orbit. The humans thought it was a mistake. Maybe a Zorath patrol had fired without order. But when they tried to send diplomats to talk, the Zorath refused to meet. They saw the human presence as a threat. The human government was quick to react. The military commanders advised striking first before the Zorath could grow stronger. They said it was better to fight on their own terms than wait for an attack. The leaders agreed. They prepared a powerful attack fleet. Huge warships with the latest weapons, thousands of soldiers ready for battle. Humanity was sure of victory. The warships moved toward Viridian. The humans believed they would destroy the Zorath forces quickly. They had trained for centuries, fought many battles on Earth and even in space. Their weapons were precise and deadly. But when the battle began, the humans faced something unexpected. The Zorath did not fight like humans. Their ships moved fast, avoiding attacks with ease. Their weapons worked differently, using energy pulses that human shields could not block easily. Zorath soldiers were not like human soldiers. They were stronger and more agile. Human commanders were surprised. Their usual strategies did not work. They tried to use their best tactics, but the Zorath always seemed one step ahead. The first big battle near Viridian ended badly for the humans. Many ships were damaged or destroyed. Hundreds of soldiers lost their lives. The humans had underestimated their enemy. Back on Earth, news of the defeat spread quickly. The people were shocked. How could the mighty human military be pushed back like this? Some leaders blamed poor planning. Others said the Zorath were more dangerous than anyone had guessed, but most refused to believe that humans could lose. They said it was only the first fight. They promised to come back stronger. Meanwhile, the soldiers who survived the battle returned to their ships and to base camps. They were tired and worried. They had thought the war would be easy. Now they knew it would be different. In secret, scientists and military experts began studying the Zorath technology. They worked day and night to understand the strange energy weapons and the fast ships. They tried to find weaknesses. At the same time, diplomats tried to open talks again. Some humans hoped the war could still be avoided, but the Zorath were silent. Their commanders said the humans had already started a war, and it would not stop until one side won. The humans faced a hard truth. Their belief that they understood combat was wrong. They had thought their weapons and training were the best in the galaxy. But now they saw that the universe was bigger and stranger than they imagined. The war had started, but humanity's confidence was shaken. They had to learn fast if they wanted to survive. The battle near Viridian was only the beginning. Humanity had thought they knew how to fight. They believed their weapons and tactics would win any war. But the Zorath were unlike anything they had ever faced before. After the first defeat, the humans did not give up. They sent more ships and soldiers to the battlefront. They believed their next fight would be better, but the Zorath were ready. When the new human fleet arrived near Viridian, the sky above the planet was dark with thousands of small alien ships. The Zorath had many vessels, small and fast like swarms of stars. The humans called them shadows because they moved silently and quickly. The human commanders tried to use their usual formations. They sent big ships to the front and smaller ships behind. They used powerful weapons to try to destroy the Zorath ships before they came close. But the Zorath were different. Their small ships flew in strange patterns. They avoided the big explosions and fired energy beams that could cut through human armor. Their weapons were silent and deadly. Human ships started to fall. One after another, they exploded in bright flashes. The soldiers inside fought bravely, but the enemy was too fast. To you. The ground, the Zorath soldiers were just as different. They did not wear heavy armor like humans. Instead, their skin was thick and strong. Their muscles were powerful. They moved quickly, faster than any human soldier. When humans landed on Viridian, they were shocked. The forests were dark and thick. Strange creatures moved between the trees. The Zorath soldiers were everywhere. Human troops tried to use their usual tactics. They formed lines, used heavy guns, and called for air support. But the Zorath did not fight in lines. They attacked from all sides, using the forest to hide and strike suddenly. One human soldier, Captain Elena Ramirez, saw the difference clearly. She had fought many battles on Earth, but here she felt lost. During a fight near a river, Elena's squad was surrounded. The Zorath warriors appeared silently from the shadows, using fast, precise moves. Elena's team tried to fight back, but the Zorath were too quick. They used strange weapons that stunned the humans instead of killing them immediately. Elena realized that the Zorath did not want to kill humans quickly. They wanted to capture them. The Zorath seemed to learn from each fight, changing their methods to be stronger. Back on the human fleet, commanders watched the battle reports with worry. The losses were heavy. Many ships were destroyed, and many soldiers were missing. General Marcus Hale, the leader of the human forces, stood in the command room. He looked tired but determined. "We cannot keep fighting like this," Marcus said to his officers. "Our weapons and tactics do not work. We must learn about the enemy. We must find a new way to fight." Scientists and engineers were called, and they worked day and night to understand the Zorath technology. They studied the captured weapons and ships. Slowly, they began to learn how the Zorath weapons worked. But it was not just technology. The human commanders realized they did not understand the Zorath soldiers themselves. The Zorath fought with skill, using their bodies and minds in ways humans had never seen. They seemed connected to each other, moving as if they shared one mind. Human scientist Dr. Lena Cho explained it in a meeting. The Zorath have a different way of fighting. It is not just physical. They are linked by something like a network in their brains. They can share information instantly. That is why they move so fast and coordinate perfectly. The commanders listened carefully. This was new. Humans fought, as individuals or in groups with radios and computers. But the Zorath had a natural connection that was stronger than any technology. Meanwhile, on Viridian, the war grew worse for the civilians. The forests where the Zorath lived were being destroyed by human weapons. Villages were caught in the crossfire. Many innocent lives were lost on both sides. News from Earth made the human people angry and scared. They wanted the war to end quickly. But they also wanted to protect humanity's place in the galaxy. In one broadcast, a young reporter asked General Hale, "Do you think the humans will win this war?" Hale paused. Then he said, "We have faced great challenges before. This war is harder than any we imagined, but we will learn, adapt, and survive. Humanity never gives up." The words gave hope, but the reality was still harsh. One night, Elena Ramirez sat in her tent. She thought about the soldiers she had lost. She thought about the strange warriors she faced every day. She knew the war was changing her. She knew that if humanity wanted to win, they had to change too. The next day, Elena volunteered for a special mission. She wanted to go deep into Zorath territory and learn more about their soldiers. The commanders agreed, hoping that understanding the enemy better would help them find a way to win. As Elena prepared to leave, she felt a mix of fear and determination. The war had shown her that humans could not fight with old ideas. They had to be smarter, faster, and more open to change. She looked at the stars above Viridian and whispered, "We thought we understood combat. But this war will teach us what it really means to fight." The war was far from over. The first clash had been a lesson, a hard, painful lesson, but humanity was ready to learn. The defeat near Viridian shook humanity deeply. Soldiers returned from the battlefield tired, scared, and confused. They had thought war meant facing enemies who fought like humans, with guns, armor, and clear battle lines. But the Zorath fought in a way no one had ever seen. Captain Elena Ramirez's mission into Zorath territory was important. She needed to understand the enemy, not just as fighters, but as living beings. If humans wanted to survive, they had to change. Elena traveled with a small team, moving quietly through the thick forests of Viridian. The trees were tall and strange, and the air smelled different. The Zorath lived hidden among these trees, but Elena knew she had to find them. After days of careful movement, Elena's team found a small Zorath village. The buildings were simple but strong, made from natural materials. The Zorath were there, watching silently. Elena felt nervous. She remembered the stories of the Zorath capturing humans and treating them badly. But when she looked closely, she saw something else. The Zorath cared for their children, helped the sick, and worked together like one big family. Suddenly, the Zorath warriors appeared. They were cautious but did not attack. One of the warriors, tall and strong, stepped forward. Elena raised her, hands to show she meant no harm. A translator device helped them talk. Elena learned that the Zorath called themselves the Keepers. They believed in protecting their home, their families, and their way of life. They did not want war, but they would fight to defend their world. Elena asked about their combat skills. The Zorath warrior explained that their fighting came from years of living in a dangerous land. They trained to be fast and strong. Their bodies and minds worked together. They listened to each other like one voice. Elena shared stories of human soldiers, how they trained, how they fought. She told the Zorath about human technology and weapons. The warrior nodded. "Your machines are strong," he said. "But your soldiers must learn to listen, not just to orders but to each other and to the land." Elena thought deeply about this. She knew that humans relied too much on machines and not enough on connection. Back on the human ships, scientists and engineers worked hard to copy and improve Zorath technology. They built new shields that could block energy pulses and faster ships that could move like the shadows. But technology was only part of the answer. The military started new training programs. Soldiers practiced moving quietly, working as a team, and trusting their instincts. They learned to fight in small groups that could adapt quickly. They studied Zorath tactics and practiced using their own weapons in new ways. General Marcus Hale visited the training camps. He spoke to the soldiers. "This war is teaching us that strength is not only in weapons," he said. "It is in teamwork, understanding, and courage." At the same time, human leaders worked to improve communication. They sent more diplomats to try to find peace. Some Zorath showed interest in talking, but many still remembered the first attacks and refused. The war continued, but the humans changed. The soldiers fought with new skills and respect for the enemy. They began winning small battles that before seemed impossible. Captain Elena's team returned from their mission with valuable knowledge. She shared what she learned about the Zorath's connection and their love for their world. Her story spread among the troops. It gave them hope and a new way to think about combat. In one battle near a mountain range, human soldiers used new tactics, learned from the Zorath. They moved silently, avoided traps, and worked as one. The enemy was surprised. The humans won the fight with fewer losses, but the cost of war was still high. Many lives were lost on both sides. The forests were scarred, and the skies burned with smoke. Elena visited a small camp where wounded soldiers rested. She talked to them quietly, listening to their fears and hopes. "We are learning," she said. But we must never forget why we fight. It is not just to win. It is to protect our future. As the war stretched on, both humans and Zorath realized something important. Understanding was the key to survival. It was not enough to have better weapons. They had to understand each other's hearts and minds. The war had begun with violence and fear. Now it was slowly teaching two different species how to see beyond the fight. Elena looked up at the stars. Again, the same stars humans had watched for centuries now shining over a war-torn world. "We will learn," she whispered, "or we will lose everything." The learning curve was steep, but humanity had never been afraid of hard lessons. The war had stretched on for months. Both humans and Zorath had learned much from each other. The battles were fierce, but neither side could claim a clear victory. The war had become a test, not only of strength but of will and understanding. Captain. Elena Ramirez's special mission had changed everything. The information she brought back helped human commanders rethink their strategy. No longer did they only rely on brute force. They had to think differently. One day, an unexpected opportunity appeared. A small group of human soldiers, led by Elena, was sent on a secret mission deep into Zorath territory. Their task was to capture a Zorath warrior alive. The goal was to learn more about the enemy's fighting style and culture, not to harm. The mission was dangerous. Elena's team moved quietly through dark forests and rough mountains. They faced traps and hidden patrols, but they were careful and skilled. After days of searching, they found their target, a strong Zorath warrior named Kirin. He was tall, with sharp eyes that showed both wisdom and strength. Instead of attacking, Elena's team captured him using non-lethal weapons. At first, Kirin was angry and silent, but over time, Elena and her team showed respect. They treated him with kindness and tried to understand his thoughts. Using the translator device, Kirin spoke about his people's way of life. He explained that the Zorath valued balance between nature, technology, and spirit. Their fighting was a form of protecting that balance. Kirin said, "We do not fight for power or conquest. We fight to protect our home and our way of life. War is a last choice, not a first." Elena listened carefully. She saw the pain in Kirin's eyes, pain caused by war and loss. She realized that the enemy was not so different from humans after all. Kirin shared a secret that surprised the humans. The Zorath could communicate mentally with each other over short distances. This ability helped them coordinate perfectly during battle. They felt connected like a family, sharing thoughts and feelings instantly. This explained why the Zorath soldiers moved so fast and acted as one. Elena thought about how humans fought. Their communication was slow in comparison, only radios and signals. If humans could find a way to connect like the Zorath, they might fight better together. The human scientists were excited by this discovery. They began working on devices that could help soldiers share information quickly and silently. But the lessons from Kirin were more than technology. He taught the humans about respect for the land and the importance of working with nature, not against it. The Zorath warriors trained in the forests, learning to use the environment as part of their defense and attack. Elena's team returned to their base with new knowledge. The commanders began training soldiers to move quietly and use natural cover. They encouraged soldiers to trust their teammates and feel connected, not just follow orders blindly. Slowly, the human soldiers changed. They became more like the Zorath, not just fighters but protectors of their world and each other. In one battle near a great forest, the new human tactics were tested. The humans moved silently through the trees. They avoided the enemy's traps and used the terrain to their advantage. Their energy shields blocked the Zorath's pulses better. They coordinated attacks like a single force. The Zorath were surprised. They saw humans fighting with respect and skill. The battle was fierce but ended with a human victory. General Marcus Hale praised the soldiers. "This is what I want to see. Not just strength but wisdom. We are learning to fight smarter, not harder." But even with these victories, the war was not over. Both sides had lost much. The forests were scarred, the skies often filled with smoke. Yet a new hope grew. From the captured warrior Kirin and the lessons he shared, humans began to see the possibility of peace. Some diplomats opened secret talks with Zorath leaders. They discussed ways to stop the fighting and find a future without war. Not everyone agreed. Some human commanders wanted to keep fighting until total victory. Some Zorath warriors wanted to push humans away forever. Captain Elena Ramirez stood in a quiet room, thinking about the future. She knew war was painful. She knew peace would be harder. But she believed in something more. "We have learned from the enemy," she said softly. "Now we must learn to live with them." Elena looked at the stars above Viridian, the same stars that watched over two very different peoples, now connected by a shared story. The turning point had come. The war was no longer just about weapons and battles. It was about understanding, respect, and hope, and humanity was ready to take the next step. The war between humans and the Zorath had entered a new phase. Both sides had suffered great losses, but they had also learned much. The fighting was no longer about one side crushing the other. Instead, it became a struggle of equals. Two species, trying to survive and protect what they loved. Captain Elena Ramirez stood on the bridge of the human flagship, watching the stars twinkle beyond the viewports. She felt the weight of responsibility more than ever. The war had changed her, and now it was changing the world. Thanks to the information from Kiran, the captured Zorath warrior, humans had developed new ways to fight and communicate. Soldiers moved like shadows through forests and rocky hills, using the land to their advantage. Small squads worked as one, sharing information instantly through new devices inspired by Zorath mental links. The Zorath, too, had learned from humans. They had begun using human technology in clever ways, blending their natural abilities with machines. The battlefield was no longer a place of one-sided victories. It was a place where skill, knowledge, and respect mattered. In the midst of this, diplomats from both sides met secretly on a neutral space station called Unity. The station floated peacefully between the two worlds, a symbol of hope. Elena was invited to speak at one meeting. She stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. "We have fought hard and we have lost much," she said. "But now we stand on equal ground. We understand each other better. We have seen that victory is not about destroying the other, but about finding a way to live together." The Zorath leader, a wise elder named Talaran, nodded. "War has shown us our weaknesses and strengths. We have suffered pain, but we have learned respect. This is the path to peace." The talks were slow and difficult. Old wounds made trust hard to build. Some on both sides still wanted to continue the war, fearing betrayal or weakness. But the people were tired of fighting. Families wanted their loved ones to come home. Children wanted to grow up in peace. On the battlefields, the fighting became less brutal. Soldiers on both sides began to hesitate, sometimes lowering their weapons when they saw the pain in their enemies' eyes. Captain Elena thought often about a recent battle near a mountain valley. Her squad had faced a group of Zorath warriors. Instead of fighting to the death, both sides had paused, unsure of what to do. It was a quiet moment in a loud war. In that moment, Elena felt something new, a connection to the enemy. She saw the fear and courage in their faces. They were not so different. Back on Earth, news of the peace talks gave hope. People celebrated and prayed for the war to end. Soldiers wrote letters home, telling stories of the strange respect growing between the two species. Yet the war was still dangerous. Battles flared up in places far from the diplomats' reach. Not everyone was ready for peace. One day, an attack near a human settlement shocked everyone. A rogue group of Zorath warriors, angry at the peace talks, destroyed homes and hurt civilians. The human military responded swiftly, but instead of anger, General Marcus Hale called for calm. "We cannot let hate destroy what we are trying to build," he said. "We must be stronger than the violence." Captain Elena led a mission to reach out to the rogue Zorath group. She risked her life to talk to them, hoping to show them the value of peace. Her courage surprised many. She told the warriors, "War only brings more pain. We can choose a different path. Together. Slowly, the rogue group agreed to stop fighting. It was a small victory, but a powerful sign. The war had changed. It was no longer a battle of destruction, but a chance for understanding. On Viridian, the forest began to heal. Humans and Zorath worked side by side to rebuild villages and protect the land. Captain Elena stood at the edge of a rebuilt village, watching children from both species play together. The stars above shone bright, as if celebrating a new beginning. She smiled and whispered, "This is what we fought for. Not just victory, but a future worth living." The story of humanity and the Zorath was far from over. But now, they walked together, equal on the path toward peace. The ceasefire had held longer than anyone had hoped. After years of fighting, humans and Zorath had finally taken a step back from the edge of total destruction. Both sides were tired. They had lost friends, families, and worlds. Now, they looked toward a future that could be different, a future built on trust and cooperation. Captain Elena Ramirez stood on the bridge of the human flagship, watching Viridian's blue-green surface slowly come into view. The planet's scars from the war were still visible, burned forests, broken cities, but there was also life returning. Green shoots of plants grew through blackened soil, and animals cautiously returned to their homes. Elena thought about the journey they had made. From the first careless attack to this fragile peace, humanity had changed. They had learned that strength was not just in weapons or speed, but in understanding and respect. The peace talks on the Unity space station had led to many agreements. Both species promised to protect Viridian's environment and rebuild what the war had damaged. Joint teams of humans and Zorath worked together on this mission. It was a new kind of cooperation that many had thought impossible. General Marcus Hale was among the leaders overseeing the rebuilding effort. He spoke often about the lessons learned. "This war taught us many things," he said in one meeting, "but the most important lesson is this: power without wisdom destroys. Only by working together can we build a future that lasts." Captain Elena had grown close to many Zorath friends during the war, especially Kieran, the warrior she had helped capture. Over time, Kieran became a trusted ally, helping bridge the gap between their peoples. One evening, Elena and Kieran stood on a hill overlooking a new settlement. Children from both species played together in the fields. Their laughter was a sound Elena never thought she would hear during the war. Kieran smiled. "This is the future we fought for," he said quietly. "A future where we are not enemies but friends." Elena nodded. "It took a long time to get here, too long, but we made it." Yet, the peace was fragile. There were still those who doubted it would last. Some humans remembered the early losses and whispered about returning to war. Some Zorath mourned the lives lost and worried about trusting their former enemies. To help protect the peace, a new council was formed. The Unity Council included leaders from both species. They worked together to solve problems, share resources, and make decisions for Viridian's future. Captain Elena was chosen as one of the council's representatives. She accepted the role with pride and hope. Her first task was to help create a program to teach young humans and Zorath about each other's culture. The goal was to build understanding from childhood, so the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. Schools opened on Viridian where children learned both languages and histories. They studied the stars and shared stories of heroes from both worlds. At times, Elena thought about the soldiers who had fought and died in the war. She knew their sacrifice was the reason peace was possible. One day she visited a memorial built to honor those lost. The monument stood tall on a hill, surrounded by flowers and quiet. Elena placed a hand on the stone and whispered, "We remember you. Because of you, we have a chance to be better." The rebuilding of Viridian was hard work, but it was also a symbol of hope. Humans and Zorath worked side by side, clearing ruins, planting trees, and rebuilding homes. Scientists from both species shared their knowledge. Together, they created new technologies to heal the land and improve life for everyone. As the years passed, the scars of war faded. New friendships grew. Trade and culture flourished. The stars that once watched a brutal war now shone on a growing alliance. Captain Elena Ramirez looked up at the night sky from her home on Viridian. She thought about the long road humanity had traveled. "We thought we understood combat," she said softly. "But war taught us more than fighting. It taught us about ourselves and each other." She smiled, knowing the future was not guaranteed. But for the first time she believed it could be bright, because humanity had learned that true strength was in peace.